This bike is finished is exactly how I pictured it being. It really does look like a stock custom that's not just an old bike and not a new bike in old color. It's just a kind of a nice mix. My name is Oliver Jones. We're here in Long Beach, California at my shop. I go by the Cutrate. The short version is I was living in Tokyo at the time. I saw a lot of motorcycles there on the street and thought to myself, when I go back to the US, whenever that is, I'm gonna build a bike. Fast forward a bunch of years, I got home, got a place, got a little garage, and I decided, okay, now's the time I'm gonna do it. So I went out and bought a bike and literally just started that day. And that was about 12 years ago. This year, I'm doing a 2020 Harley Lowrider S. My first new bike, my first fuel-injected bike, my first new, anything this new this is all foreign to me, actually. Pretty much early on, coming from the East Coast, I had a sort of like a formed opinion of what I like and don't like. I tend to like more aggressive bikes, fast, dark. This Lowrider S that I'm building this year is quite honestly a departure from maybe what I normally would build. For me, I want to like step out of my comfort zone, do something that's like maybe not what other people are building, or maybe not even what they're expecting me to build. So I kind of want to approach this from a different vantage point. I could have just as easily gone with any other model because I'm essentially sort of stripping off all the things that are Lowrider S, except for the neck angle, the dual disc, and a few other pieces. This bike, to me, is all about a sort of design project. Like, that being my sort of background. In college, we did a lot of rebranding it with different things. Like, we're gonna take this corporate logo and sort of rebrand it. That's what I wanted to do with this bike. Take a bike that's done and rebrand it as a born-free edition. Not something that when you look at it, you're intimidated that, oh man, that's a great bike, but without that, you know, $10,000 swing arm, mine's not gonna be that cool. To me, the success with this would be that you don't know. You really don't know what I did. You know, it could be that the fenders are just tweaked ever so slightly, but that little tweak, when you look at it, gives a much better line compared to the rear fender, compared to the tank, compared to the bars. So all of those things kind of, they work together. The wheels are probably one of the bigger endeavors on this thing. So I took 90s era Thunderstar, factory Thunderstar wheels. Clearly those are not modern day sizes and would look totally wrong on this bike. So we dissected the wheels, widened and stepped. So the rear now is actually a 17x5 and the front is a 21x3. The front end is the stock Harley front end with different internals, and I raised it about 1.5 inches. That plus the 21 will give the bike just a little bit taller in the front stance that I was kind of going for. The pipes are basically gonna stay this shape. The bars and risers are actually aftermarket. I went with just 6-inch risers and a taller bend bar than the factory bars. So I kind of split the difference between the height in the bar and the height in the riser to get the overall that I wanted. I used a top clamp from a different model, so I eliminated all the gauges on the tank and have all my gauges up here. But again, just kind of tweaking the dimensions enough to where it's not gonna stand out too much, but I think overall it'll lend itself. It's just a clean kind of rider bike. There's no extra, you know, standing pads on the back and things for wheelies and that kind of stuff. It's more just clean, you know, FX heritage basically, and somewhat modernizing it and somewhat taking from the past and just making a nice clean hybrid of the both.